I have memories of walking through those few streets in Oak Ridge North, house to house, and sitting there with a piece of paper. Hey, what church do you go to? Are you interested in going to a new church? This is going to be coming. We're going to be meeting over here. My dad was very influential. He was the everything kind of at that point. We met in what they now call the shack by the tracks, Tamina Road Community Center. So we met there for the first year and a half before we turned into a church.
I don't know how many members we had, but it was probably less than 50. And it was real important in order to keep our church going that our parents, it was their responsibility to grow our church.
You were 12 years old?
We were in youth group together, and we dated for about 6 years, and then I guess in about 2 or 3 weeks we'll be married for 40 years.
I was in second grade when we moved out here in '74 and just had the small chapel and I think the education building maybe at the most there on I-45.
My parents and I joined the church in 1975. We met in the youth group. Our families knew each other. We met in the youth group. Who would have thought, but we got married, and that's been 30 years ago.
When we got here in 1976, they were meeting in the gym.
The little chapel was already too small, and they had built the gymnasium and were meeting in the gymnasium. Then we still ran out of classroom space, and there was a little Lutheran church that sat on the corner of Robinson Road and I-45 where the stop and go place is now. The church bought that little church and moved it from there over to the location of our church, and that added Sunday school space.
Every several years where our church continued to grow, so we'd add another building, and so it all kind of grew up around us.
And it was the big church on 45, and I say the big church on 45 because everybody knew about the big church on 45. From the time I was about 7 or 8, growing all the way up till we built the sanctuary and then the outbuildings and all, that's what I knew as church, as Oak Ridge Baptist.
When our church buildings were taken away, I looked and said, it's all going to be okay.
I grew up there. I mean, I was 6, I guess, when we started going there. It was tough. It was tough to feel like you don't have a home anymore.
It was a difficult time for everybody. Looking back, I likened it to the children wandering in the wilderness because all they had was a tabernacle that they would put up and take down. And, every time they moved, they would put up and take down. And we were in different schools. I think we made almost every school at the time where we held services.
It was a struggle to set up and tear down. I was part of that crew, so we were loading up a truck after services, driving it to a storage facility.
And those were hard times, but they were good times too, because the church was the people, and the church is still the people. And if we lost this building today, the church would still be.
On the day that we began church here, we walked from Vogel to here. I think it reminded a lot of us of the Israelites coming going into the promised land from the desert.
But then it was a sweet memory too when we moved into this building, because your dad was still with us then.
Yeah.
And having him be here for the building dedication and everything was special.
It was a people church then, and it's still a people church.
It really means a lot to us. It's a home.
The people out here are gracious and friendly. It seems to be part of this ingrained in this church.
God's drawing the people here. When you look at people now, and when you look on a Saturday at people going out, the thousands of people that have been touched in this community that now have entire families of Christ followers is because of the power of God through the church body, not because of our physical location.
Right. We've done nothing but prosper. God has blessed this church immensely in our membership and in our discipleship and our spiritual walk. We're a lot stronger church, I think, than we ever have been.
I just end up thinking God is bigger than us. Sometimes we just got to be ready to be used. And I just have nothing but awesome memories, and so it's kind of overwhelming sometimes, but God has really been good while we've been here.